All right, we've got 3 more to go through. We don't get another adaptations until 2010s, and we were bombarded each year with an adaptation.
It is interesting.
We have first the Masterpiece Theater. Some of the older actors, I have to say, like Angela Lansbury and Emily Watson, are well known, but some of the other actors I was not too familiar with, but very pleasantly surprised by them.
I have seen Willa Fitzgerald in some other TV shows, but I don't know much about the other actors.
I think this was Maya Hawke's first major role.
I think so. Then she was in Stranger Things.
Maya Hawke is curious. She is the daughter of Uma Thurman. She really looks a lot like her mom. When I saw her, I thought she looked so familiar, but she looks like her mom, and I think she has a good Book Joe look. She is attractive, but she is not like overly attractive compared to some of the other actresses. I don't want to say she is ugly because she is not. She is not at all. She is a very attractive individual. But when you think about someone like Kathryn Newton, who plays Amy, who is seen as very conventionally attractive person, I think Maya Hawke looks very good for the part. I think she was only 18 or 19.
I believe June Allison was the oldest Jo. She was 32 when she played Jo. It is interesting because I did not know that, and I totally bought her as an adult Jo and as a teenage Jo, which tells a lot about the actor's abilities.
It did really well exploring each of the girls' stories, and I had said after watching this, Claire Danes was my number 1 Beth. But that girl that played Beth, oh my God, there was something about her that was so honest. I don't know, was it because we got more time to expand that story and get more out of her, but I was pretty blown away by her.
She was really good.
I give credit for the script writing of Amy in this too, because this felt a little bit closer to how the earlier films did it, where Amy is more teenager than a little kid compared to something like the 70s versions, pretty much where they did a 20-something-year-old thing to play a 12-year-old. This Masterpiece Theater follows more of the footsteps of the first 2 versions, where they upgraded her to be something more of a teenager, 14, 15-year-old. This Amy is not as whiny as some of the other ones have been.
I really liked John and Meg in this version. One of my favorite John and Meg moments in the book is when he defends Meg against Laurie's English visitors, who make fun of her being a governess. What was her name? Kate Vaughn.
Kate Vaughn.
She is the rich girl, and John is like, here in America, women like to work and be independent. And I love him. There was bits of that in this adaptation. There was the boat scene, but it sadly doesn't have the scene where he defends her. But it has a conversation between Meg and John about him going to the war, and Meg is worried about him. The whole scene when he is in the war and he gets wounded, to me, it was like, this is breaking my heart.
It felt very much like a lens how wives worry about the men they love. And I did really like the scene between Meg and Aunt March when John confesses his feelings. There is something about her expression when she is like, I love him. She's very excited. Oh my God, I do actually love him. They are just so adorable in this one. If you are a huge John and Meg shipper over the other couples, this is one those you enjoy the most. There is a lot really great moments between them.
I have to agree. It is a really good Meg and John adaptation.
I have to say, there is a little bit more of Mr. March in this than some of the other ones. He is not as present in the other movies. At times, it is quite hard to spot him. Obviously, in the first part, he is in the war, and then in the second part, he is here and there. But this one actually, I think, highlighted a lot of those scenes. Jo goes in and says, I need you to talk to me and treat me like I'm Beth. I really need your guidance now. The two of them are leaning on to each other. I like that we had a little bit more with him, and I feel like he is some ways an underrated. He gets ignored, not as much as Amy or Friedrich, but he gets shut to the side and ignored. I always forget his name, but I have seen this actor on many things, the actor who plays Mr. March, and I always like him in everything. Emma Watson plays Marmy. There is a lot of added scenes in this one that I like. There's 2 separate scenes. Meg is pregnant and Meg is worried, and she's like, don't worry, I am going to be right there with you. You're a strong woman. I know you can do this. I really like those moments when we see her guiding her, not just giving advice, but really being there, because back then you gave birth at home and you needed the experience of someone like your mother to be there to make sure you do okay.
That scene is also in the book when Jo goes to her father. Dad, give me some comfort. I am having a hard time coping with all of this. I have read a couple fanfics where Jo is giving birth at home. Marmy is there and Friedrich is always there.
I can only imagine. Have you ever seen the show Victoria? It was a really great show. I don't think it is coming back. There is a scene in the end of the first season where Victoria is giving birth and Albert is in the sitting room and she is trying to get all these guys out of there. She is screaming at them, get them out of here. I don't care if they see who this next heir is and he is trying to shovel them out, but as soon as Victoria screams for Albert, he comes running in, holding her hand, and that is actually true. In real life, Albert was there for Victoria, and back then it was like, men don't get to be with women when they are giving birth, but he did for all of their children. I feel like that would be something that Friedrich would do. Wait, Jo, I'm coming. This one is pretty faithful. This one has a child servant in New York. Not an adult, an actual child, and she's not carrying laundry. She is carrying a bucket of coal. This is how Jo and Friedrich officially meet in this version. They see each other at breakfast around the table, but this is the first time when Jo and Friedrich in this adaptation talk, because he helps the little girl with the bucket, and Jo is like, that was so nice of you. And he says, I don't like when I see kids doing work that they should not be doing. I thought that was a really nice moment.
It is really important part. Jo sees that he's good with kids and he is against child labor. Hello, friends. It is Niina from the Little Woman podcast. Just to let you all know that the Little Woman podcast episode transcripts are now available as books. You can find them as paperbacks and ebooks. They are wonderful reading for all the fans of Louisa May Alcott. You can find all the links from the description. And now, back to the show. They share the same values. I do like that scene in the series. I remember I was disappointed when I saw this series. It has 3 episodes, and it should be half and half. First part of Little Woman, and the other part 2 of Little Woman. But this one has 2 episodes dedicated for the first part, and 1 episode for the second part. So the ending feels very rushed.
They should have done 2 episodes for both parts.
I did feel a bit that the script writer kind of ruined this adaptation for me. People really underestimate how much what the actors say or what the director says or the script writer says. Those things really affect the way people see the adaptations. I read an interview from Heidi Thomas, the script writer, and she said that she never understood why Jo rejected Laurie and why she married Professor Bhaer, who, quote, stopped her becoming a writer. And I'm like, did we read the same book? Friedrich in the book is literally the one who helps Jo to become a writer. But that ruined the entire series for me. It is really sad because there was so much potential.
I didn't know that is how the script writer felt. I always felt that Laurie was pushing it. Laurie is trying to kiss her when Jo is sleeping, and Jo is like, Laurie, I need you to be my friend now, so back off. Or the moment when Laurie is trying to sit next to her, and Jo is like, no. And puts a barrier between them, and this is the second one that actually has the proposal after New York. And I think that worked out pretty well. I don't know how you feel. The actor who played Laurie, I am not sure if I liked him. I don't know. I felt that he was quite stiff in the beginning. He got better as the series got on. I did like him when the series went on a little bit more. I did like some of the added scenes with him and Amy when he is visiting her at Aunt March, and they have that talk when she is like, I have these thoughts and dreams I want to do. it was a nice groundwork of what would become of their relationship.
The scriptwriter, even if they were a Jo and Laurie shipper, they managed to push their personal feelings aside, which is something that, for example, Greta Gerwig was not able to do. With Amy and Laurie, I think that was my favorite scene between the two, the whole chat they had. One of my friends said that this series has a depressed Laurie. I kind of agree with that because they tried to show him to butt heads with Jo, but then there are many scenes of him being very moody. I have very mixed feelings about it. The actor looked like the book Laurie with curly black hair. I know that Jonah Hauer's ancestors are from England and Germany, as I found out. So he's not Italian like the book Laurie, but he has some physical resemblance to the book Laurie. To me, Laurie is such a complicated character, and it takes a good actor to play him. This Laurie was moody, but he wasn't that temperamental like the book Laurie. There needs to be a full range of emotions. In the proposal scene, you kind of feel more sorry for him in this series, when in the book his behavior is more disturbing.
He is somewhere between two Lauries, Peter Lawford and Christian Bale. I just find it amusing. I liked that moment when Jo is in New York and she is writing a letter and we see Marmy reading it. The part about Professor Bhaer, we see a shot of Laurie sitting on the ground just pounding. I found that so amusing.
Early days of this podcast, I was on YouTube looking for clips from this adaptation for a video essay, and there were so many people in the comments saying Jo and Laurie are so incredibly romantic in this version. And then maybe one or two people saying there are moments when he is kind of creepy. Once again, people pay more attention to characters' physical appearance than their behavior. I didn't get a feeling that they were very romantic in this version.
I saw a clip from behind the scenes. It was maybe the director who was a Jo and Friedrich shipper, because they talked about their relationship, and Maya Hawke said that first, when I was young, I thought that Jo should be with Laurie, but now when I am older, I got it. And when I saw it, I thought it was nice she was on board with it. I really like this Friedrich. I thought the actor did a pretty good job with it.
Oh, he was my favorite in this adaptation, together with Meg and John. He was my favorite character. I wish we could have seen more of him.
I did like that we see him in a way we don't see him in the most adaptations. We really do see how Fritz and Jo have an intellectual connection as we see their discussion on philosophy and all that. I thought that the short time they had, there was something there that they managed to make it work.
Yes, and oh gosh, that end scene when he comes and he says that he keeps her poem next to his heart. It is so good and it is too much.
That is another one that for me shows how he is following her work. Like in the book, I like the little scene. I think you pointed it out in a post. I like the scene where when he comes to Concord and it is Amy that goes, "Don't worry, Jo, we all really like him." It definitely shows that family does like him, but it also shows how hers and Amy's relationship has progressed. Instead of them being in each other's throat, they are truly being sisters in that moment. Everybody loves your boyfriend. He is great, and I love him too, and I am glad for you.
I love that scene so much. It is just like you said. It shows how their relationship has developed, and Jo does want her family's approval for Friedrich, who she loves.
This one has the actual ending of the book, where everybody is at the picnic, out with their kids and all that. Not that even adaptations will go that far. They usually end right after Jo and Friedrich's proposal, which again, I can understand. When you are doing a movie, you may not have so much time.
It is the world's most romantic proposal.
I liked that they showed, kind of like they say in the book, this may not have been what I expected my happy ending to be, but I am still very happy with how my life turned out. It is a different castle, but I am very happy.
That is very true to Louisa May Alcott. We discussed about this earlier. She was very lonely and sick in the end of her life, even though she was a millionaire. That is what Jo wants in the first part of Little Woman. she wants money and materialistic things. But then when she grows and becomes more an adult, she realizes that those are not the things that make her happy. And she gradually changes her mind.
2017 one, where would you like to put it?
I think this one will be my 5th.
I feel like we're going to shift a little bit because of the 2018 one. I really like that version, but at the moment we have number 194, number 233, number 349, number 478, number 5, 2017, number 670. That is where we are at the moment.
I wanted to say that another thing that I like in the 2017 series is that there is a scene of Friedrich playing with the children.
It is another one that has friends and email in it. There's a moment when not only are they playing, but where he and Joe are reading a fairy tale. It is in German, and she is reading it in English after that. I always thought that was a really nice scene.
Yes. Mark Stanley was one of the youngest actors to play Friedrich. He was, I think, 28, if I remember correctly. And Friedrich is written to be 39 when Joe meets him for the first time. It is not a huge deal. I just thought it was interesting. I know a lot of people say that if you have a beard, it can make you look older.
Reading that in Maya Hawke being 18 or 19, I think that helped to make him look older. He is obviously older, but not the book age. So you can go and say she is 25 and he is in his late 30s. They managed to age them in a believable way.
I always ponder when people complain that Friedrich is an old man. In the book, he is written to be 39. I would not, in any circumstance, call that old.
My mom and I had a conversation a few weeks ago. We were talking about how some celebrity had passed away, and I was like, he was still quite young. He was in his 70s. My brother was like, is that young? And I was like, he would have still had good 20 years ahead. He could have lived to their 90s. My mom was like, I don't think it was that old. I think if you're going to be old in your 50s, me as a 28-year-old, I still see that age of starting my life. There are people who have that feeling of, if you don't have everything settled by the time when you're in your 20s, if you are in your 30s and if you are not married or have a great career, then you are a failure. And I have been taking myself out of that thought process. I am not a failure because I haven't still achieved everything I wanted to achieve. I still have many, many years to come. I don't believe in that idea that at a certain point you are considered too old for things. I don't think 40 is anywhere near old.
It is such a sweet moment in the book. Joe says to him, don't call yourself old. 40 is the prime of life. I would love you even if you were 70.
I love it when she says that. Here you are in the prime of your life. Very clearly, Joe, you are into older men.
We need an adaptation with that particular scene. I'm so frustrated people saying, Joe marries that old man. You cannot call him old. He's freaking 39. Just stop.
It is the same when people say Joe at 28 is an old maid. How dare you? I am 28. I don't see myself as an old maid.
No one should use the word old maid anymore. 2017 series, there are some things I would tweak about it, but definitely it is worth watching and there are some wonderful scenes there as well.